in the hands of the potter. Sometimes I'm feeling cracked and broken. That's when I hear the voice of the teacher. The cracks are where the light gets in. The cracks are where the light gets in. The cracks are where the light gets in. Let it in. It's Detroit, Michigan in April 1985, and it's snowing. It's freezing cold. We're all miserable, except for my dad. Yeah, he's having a chuckle, I'm sure. Few people hate snow as much as my dad, hated snow as much as my dad, I should say. And it's understandable, he grew up in the Upper Peninsula of northern Michigan, where the snow could get to the rooftop of your house. And it was his job as a boy to go clear the walk and the porch with a hand shovel. He later settled here in Detroit, where the snow is never quite that bad, but it always annoyed him, except today, at his funeral. There must be 200 of us gathered here at Mount Olivet Cemetery, friends, family, the Knights of Columbus, St. Veronica's Parish, and we have reached a general consensus that Emery pulled some weather strings up there in heaven just so he could have the last laugh. Well, at the wake, my mother and my siblings and I, we greet everyone who's come to pay their respects. And, Dad died suddenly of a heart attack, just 66 years old, so people are still shaking their heads in disbelief. It's a somber affair for a while, and then my brothers and sisters and I, we cannot help ourselves. We gather our chairs in a circle and we proceed with the ritual known as Remember When. And Susie starts. Remember the first time Dad made bologna sandwiches for our school lunches? There was a slice of bread, one slice of bologna per person, a little ketchup on the bologna, and then a square of wax paper so that the ketchup wouldn't bleed into the bread. Very clever, except that he forgot to tell us. Jim goes next. Remember how he used to fall asleep in his lazy boy to that boring travel film show on TV? He could sleep through an air raid siren, but try to change the channel. That would wake him up. Kathy says, remember the first time I brought Bill home? We're at the dinner table. Bill politely asks Dad to pass the rolls. Dad takes a roll, tosses it to Bill. Bill catches it. Dad says, you'll do. And then we get to our favorite Dad memory of all, and that's Christmas Eve. We would all go to midnight mass, and Mom would sing in the choir, and when we'd get back, as soon as we opened the door, we could smell it, because Dad stayed back, and he made bacon, and scrambled eggs, and cinnamon rolls, and real orange juice, not that concentrate that we used to water down to within an inch of its life. And we'd be wall to wall with uncles and aunts and cousins and as many friends as he wanted to invite over. Our house had a warm glow until the wee hours of the morning. And my brother Michael says, remember the ledger? And I didn't. So Michael goes on to explain how it was we were able to afford the addition on the house. I remember the addition. I was only 10. I knew we desperately needed it. There were 2 bedrooms, 5 boys, and 4 girls. And not small people either. But I never knew how we paid for it, and it turns out that Michael explains that my dad went to our Uncle Bob and asked for a gift because he knew he wouldn't be able to repay a loan. And with the money, he bought the materials, he did most of the work himself, but he paid some of his buddies to help out. And afterward, Michael says, Dad went back to Uncle Bob with a ledger showing him what had been spent and the change. He brought back every penny that wasn't spent. I have to sit back and reflect on this because Uncle Bob would not have asked for a ledger. That had to be or the change. That had to be Dad's idea. And here he is, a blue-collar guy with 9 kids. He could have used that money, whatever the amount it was, for food or groceries or shoes. But no, this is the character of the man. He's humble enough to ask for a gift, and then the integrity to use it only the way he said he would use it, and not a penny more. And he did this for us. And I start to think about all the other things he did for me. Like, I remember I wanted to go out for the track team, and the next day he goes out and buys a stopwatch to help me train. Now I see, because I'm a parent myself now, I can see these things through a different lens. And that's probably the last thing he wanted to spend money on, was a stopwatch. And then all the times that he would drive me and my teammates to and from our soccer games, why, that was time in his workshop that he gave up for me. And all the school plays he came to. He could have been watching that travel film show in his lazy boy. Yeah. So now I'm kind of flushed with a new kind of gratitude, and I want to thank him. But he's gone. It's too late. Kind of reminds me of that song by Mike and the Mechanics. You know? I just wish I would have told him in the living years. Well, that night, I'm putting my little girl to bed, and she gets out her toy telephone. She hands me the receiver. Daddy, it's Grandpa Emery from heaven. Thank you, sweetie. You know what? I'll take that call. I have something I'd like to say to him. You come home from work, but the working doesn't stop. You fix a broken bike, make us a bookshelf in your shop. Watching you in silence is how we get your advice. You only need to cut once because you measure twice. Like the workhorse that pulls the plow, you provide by the sweat of your brow. We can always count on you, Dad. Your love may be unspoken, but it's true. Your love may be unspoken, but it's true. Thank you, Dad. Can we go now, Daddy? It's the fall of 1985. I am a young father, and I am sitting in the back pew of a very crowded church with my 4-year-old daughter, Adrian, on my knee. She is bored out of her mind. We have a new book, Polar Express. We get through that. Can we go now, Daddy? Not now. Soon. Let's read the book again. 3 times through the book. We're mercifully coming to the end of the service. The minister says, "Go in peace to love and serve the Lord." Now, there's just this split second of silence. Have you ever heard that? Where they go, and then before people start rustling, there's just this little second. And it's right there, right in that moment, that my beloved daughter throws her arms up into the air and says, "Now!" Well, the laughter rippled from the back pew to the front pew. Even the minister laughed. Adrienne was a spirited child from the day she was born. Try to give her a bad-tasting medicine, she would stiffen like a 2x4. Put a little food on her high chair that she didn't care for, it's on the floor. But from that high chair, eventually, when she started to talk, came some pearls of wisdom. I love my mommy. I love my daddy. I love Paddington. I love myself. Naturally, I thought she was a genius. She could read from a very early age, or so I thought. I'd get a book. I'd start reading. She would take over. But it turned out to be mimicry, not reading. We'd read those books so many times, she knew what was coming. But this gift of mimicry, I really didn't figure it out until one day we were watching television, and a very familiar commercial came on. And before the spokeswoman could even begin, Adrienne said, "I don't know about you, but I want my hair to be as soft as it can be." Sometimes this gift of mimicry could get her tripped up, though. Like as her parents were always saying, "Time to get your shoes on." And she thought that was her middle name. Adrienne Shoes on Genette. No, it's Suzanne. She also got the songwriting bug early on. I remember peeking in on her one night. It's a bright full moon like a spotlight shining on her and Paddington in her bed. She's singing, "I take the moon, I go to bed." That's it. That's the whole song. She also, she likes tumbling, living room gymnastics with her dad as a prop. I lay flat, knees up, feet flat. We clasp hands. She gets on my knees. Lord knows what's going to happen from there. I have to admit, I get tired of it usually long before she does. But I wouldn't today. I'm not going to get to tumble with her today because I'm leaving. Her mother and I are struggling. We're young, we're scared, we're poor, we're stressed. I'm going to take a new job, and it's in a different city, and I'm hoping it's going to save my family, but I'm also worried I'm going to lose my family. But time comes to go, and I have to say goodbye, and I don't know for how long. Hey, shoes on. So proud of you. Listen, Daddy has to go. But no, you didn't do anything. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't do anything wrong. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't do anything wrong. It's just your mama and I. It's just we try. I'll call you every night before your bedtime, okay? And you can tell me all about your day. I'll come see you real soon. We'll tumble as long as you want. Go for walks, make up songs about the moon. Well, Daddy, I have an idea. You could stay in my room. You could hide in the closet like a broom. Honey, that's a lovely thought. How about I hide inside your heart? Give me a kiss now. It's time to go. But there's something you should know. I'm gonna love you every single day, even if it has to be from far away. No, you didn't. No, you didn't do anything wrong. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't do anything wrong. It's just, it's, I'm 8 years old and I'm on crutches. And I hobble out to the backyard to play with my big brother Tommy, but he jumped the fence with his friends. He doesn't want to play with me. Wish I could fly like Superman. The thing is, Tommy used to be a fun guy, right until he turned about 12 3/4. Like, when I first got this bone disease and I couldn't walk, I would sit in my comfy spot on the couch, and he would do clown stuff to make me laugh. But now he's a teenager, big whoop. Can't be bothered with a little brother. So I go into the house, sit in my comfy spot. My mom brings me a piece of paper and a pencil. Why don't you make up a story? So I make up a story about a clown who likes to entertain his handicapped little brother. And he doesn't run away like Tommy the clown. I'm 10 now. I still have a deformed hip, but I lose the crutches. And Tommy's not around at all now. He's in high school, Notre Dame, all boys. He says it's different. Like your classes aren't all in the same room. But you get to do cool stuff too, like homecoming floats. And you get to go to the Friday night dances with the girls from Regina High. He says that Father Bryson comes around with a wooden ruler and pokes it between the kids who are dancing too close. Pretty soon, Tom's got a girlfriend, Virginia. She's nice enough and everything, but I don't know how he's going to keep us both happy. By the time I get to high school, Tom's in Vietnam. He didn't even get drafted. He enlisted. In his heart, he believed that we had to stop communism over there before it destroyed us over here. So he signed up. And he became a crew chief on a helicopter ambulance. And he never talked about it when he wrote home, but we knew. He was landing in battlefields while the bullets were flying, rushing out to save wounded soldiers. Now, I was against the war. And so when we wrote back and forth, we did not talk about it. I would send cassette tapes of my piano playing, Classical Gas, and MacArthur Park. He said the guys liked it. And that was it. That was the thing we had. Set aside the anti-war songs. The thing we had in common, the soldier and the peacenik. We had the same taste in music, and that held us together. I turn 18. I get my draft notice. I don't want to go. I am against the war. I'm drawn to the long hairs, the music, and it's 1, 2, 3. What are we fighting for? Well, now what am I going to do? I could go to Canada. That's 30 minutes away from Detroit over the Ambassador Bridge, but there's no turning back. And if I do that, Tom will never talk to me again. So I go for my physical, and I flunk. The Army does not want to deal with my hip problems later in life. It's funny, I never had to make the choice. I never had to cross that bridge to Canada or with Tom. It's been nearly 20 years now since Tom came home safely from Vietnam. And now he's in a coma. We grew apart for a while. After college, I moved out west. We both started families. It was hard to stay in touch. But I came back to Detroit, and we tried to find a way to be together. I was working at the public television station, and he would come down to volunteer to answer phones. And then we'd go out for a beer at the Knights of Columbus, where he was the Grand Knight, just like our father had been. Tom, Grand Knight, good Catholic, war hero, Silver Star for bravery, the man's man, could fix his own cars. I, majored in theater. So we were still oil and water in a way, but he could see that I was pulling my weight, and by now, he'd seen a lot of people who hadn't. And one day, out of the blue, he calls me. John, I just want you to know that I have colon cancer, but I'm going to fight it. Why, Tom? Was it Agent Orange? That was a long time ago. This man is in his late 30s. He's so young. He's got a wife and 4 children. What good is his religion now? Everything happens for a reason? Really? So the doctors give him a treatment, and they think they get it all. And Tom is on cloud 9, and so am I. Not just because my brother's going to live, but because I'm sort of getting my own second chance here. I've become reacquainted with a lovely woman I knew in college, Andrea, and we fall in love, and we get engaged, and we set a date, and Tom is going to be our best man. And when he gives the toast, everybody's beaming. Happy for Andrea and I, of course, but happy for Tom. Tom, the man's man, the cancer survivor, the best man. But they didn't get it all. The cancer came back, and now it's metastasized, and Tom is dying. We've all said our goodbyes, we've had our private moments, but mine's kind of a blur. The only thing I remember is at the end, he asked me to go out and get pocket change from everybody in the waiting room. And this is because he knew that our sister Kathy was coming. Now, Kathy has a savant quality. She could spot a quarter at the back of this room on the floor. So I bring the coins to Tom, and he tosses them all over his hospital room. I go out, Kathy comes in, We hear this gale of laughter from both of them. And that was the last time anyone smiled. We're keeping vigil now, but there's no conversation. But you do sort of wonder, what if he could hear? You may not hear me now. You may not know this voice is mine. I thought we'd have more time. I'm just a little boy. Big brother, please watch over me. Help me climb that tree. I wear your hand-me-downs. My dinner place is next to you. Look, I can use my left hand too. Hey Tom, do you remember when we were young? You went to Nam, I grew my hair long. Some ways were different, but some ways the same. What can I say? I'm proud to share the name. Families gathered at the gravesite with extended family and a sea of friends behind us. Knights of Columbus are there in full regalia, the swords and the plumes and the capes. And two soldiers very crisply fold up the flag that was on the casket. And just then we hear the sound of a lone bagpipe from over the hill, the one thing that Tom had asked for. And just then, there's a fleet of army helicopters coming over the hill. They're in a formation, a V formation, but it's not complete. There's one at the head, there's two on the left, there's only one on the right. It's the missing man formation. It's the whole country paying tribute to my brother, Tommy the Clown. Tom, the war hero, the man's man, the best man, the missing man. Sitting in my comfy spot in the house I grew up in, it's not quite the same as a grown man. Different couch, for one thing. I'm sitting across from my mother, and she is in her new Queen Anne chair. Not called Queen Anne because her name happens to be Anne, although my siblings quickly pointed out that coincidence when she bought it. It's a style of furniture, Queen Anne, and it's the nicest thing my mother's ever had. So we've just finished dinner, and we are kind of tempted to fill this awkward moment with television, but we sense an opportunity for a conversation, the kind we've never had. We've never gotten along all that well, actually, even though we're the two souls in this family who are most alike. When I was a teenager, I never even wanted to come home. What's the lecture going to be about today? My hair, my grades, my music, going to church. You know, I don't want to butt heads with her. I'm only half Irish. She's a thoroughbred. Yeah, I'm in my 30s, and we still have not figured out how to be frank with one another, but I really want to try because I'm grateful that she has let me come home for a while. So I want to be gracious. I want to try to make this work. I've come home because my first marriage fell apart, and I am trying to make a new start. And this could be a win-win. Mom has been alone for the first time in 48 years since Dad died last year. I can help out. I can mow the lawn, and the cheap rent will help me get back on my feet, for a little while. So I cast my gaze everywhere but in my mother's eyes, and I land on the picture of my sister, Mary Ann. And here I want to tell my mother about the pain of being separated from my daughter. But I'm worried that maybe she's going to say, maybe she's going to blame me, maybe she's going to ask me to go to confession. I don't know if there's going to be any compassion there. And then I realize, I look at this picture, of course, she not only knows my pain, she knows something even worse. Mary Ann, her firstborn, died of leukemia when she was just 7 years old. See, now, by the time I came along, at the tail end of the brood, Mary Ann was only this photograph, and it's gorgeous. She's in her hospital bed making her first communion. Long black hair, white veil, rosary between her hands. She looks like an angel. Now, knowing me and my brothers and sisters, there was probably a lot more devil than angel in Mary Ann, but not when I was a kid. She looked like an angel. But I never associated this beatific photo with pain or loss. But now I realize the way to break the ice with my mother is to ask her about her pain, not to try to talk about mine. So I stick a toe in the water. Well, Mom, I can tell that I'm home because there's Mary Ann watching over us. That's the only thing I know about her. What was she like? Oh, she was a little hellion. But I could always get her to sleep at night by singing a lullaby. Must have been so hard to bury your firstborn. What was that like? Well, it was hard. Your dad didn't want to talk about it, and there were no support groups in those days, and even the priest didn't know what to do. But I prayed a lot, and I wrote poetry. Even though I couldn't say the words, it helped to get the words out. Well, do you still have those poems? Oh, yes, they're in a binder somewhere. Would you like to see them? Yes, I would, very much. So Mom goes off to find the binder, and the truth is, I don't remember any of her poems. I mean, I know she was creative. I knew that she painted, and she was a singer, and she was a musician and a poet, but come on. I was growing up in the 60s and 70s. Man, I was into the creativity of my generation. I couldn't be caught relating to the establishment. Well, Mom comes back, and she sits next to me, and she gives me the book of poems. And I open it, and the first one is not about Mary Ann. It's about our bathroom. Okay, well, we did have one bathroom for 11 people, and that was hell on earth. But now, she's an empty nester. Now it's a little piece of heaven. So she writes a poem called The Empty Room. Oh, no shouting, no one's knocking on the bathroom door. Since Cupid rode in and took over the place. Joy to you all. Might have expected a little melancholy. And then she points me to the poems about Mary Ann. dreamless in sleep, my darling was laid, and softly nearby the willow wept. I'm really touched by the beauty of these poems. It's so candid and it's so heartfelt, and I realize the way to get to know my mother is to get to know these poems. I want to get deep inside these words. I can hear music. The lonely sound of a train in the night re-echoes the sound in my soul, in my soul, in my soul, in my soul. Dreamless in sleep, my darling was laid, and softly nearby the willow wept, the willow wept, the willow. 7 years later, I'm sitting across from my mother again. The photo of Mary Ann's here too, but we're not in the family home anymore. We're in a nursing home. Mom has Alzheimer's disease and she's fast decaying. And I'm so glad we had that conversation when we did, because she doesn't know who I am. She doesn't know who Mary Ann is either. She could look at that picture and instantly recall every detail about that day. She never forgot a name or a face. And now she doesn't know her own children. There's no cure. So there's nothing I can do to help her, but maybe there's something I can do to heal myself at least. She taught me. Might feel better if the words come out. Are you in there, Mama? Do you know my face anymore? Are you in there, Mama? I'm afraid of what's in store for you. Yes, I see your painting on the wall. Yes, I see the way you made the trees so tall. Should I tell her it's a window? Does it even matter? I don't know. You're leaving us, but you're leaving us the gift of your poetry. And I will carry on your legacy of letting the words come out. It does feel better. Godspeed. It's happy hour. My wife Andrea and I are sitting in a pub in San Francisco. It's happy hour, but not for me. It's the eve of my 60th birthday, and I am having a pity party. I was okay with 40. 50 actually felt pretty good, prime of my life. But 60? 60 is tragic. I do not want any phone calls from my older brothers and sisters welcoming me to the club. I don't want to be liking messages on Facebook. I don't want any Hallmark cards. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to see anybody. Except Andrea, of course. Even our friends from San Francisco don't even know we're here. I just want to enjoy this beautiful city with Andrea and feel sorry for myself. Thank you. So she says, I have a gift for you. Now, that might not seem unusual for a couple that's been married for 25 years, except that we made a pact long ago that we would not get gifts or cards for each other. We'd get something for the house instead. So I protest. Hey, that's not fair. No, it's not like that. But we have a full day tomorrow, and, well, you might want to spend time with this. So I just wanted to give you the option of opening it tonight. I'll think about it. So we go have a lovely dinner. And then we go back to the hotel, and I'm kind of sleepy, but I give in to the intrigue. So, all right, I'll open it now. She hands me a beautiful little square, nicely wrapped. And I unwrap it, saving the bow. I'm well trained. And it's it looks like a multi-CD set, but there's my picture on the front, and it says Ann Genette, 6 decades. Well, now she knows exactly what's going to happen next. I'm going to open this, and I'm going to look for the liner notes. Now, this has been going on since I was 13. You buy a new album, I'm sorry, that's the first thing you got to do. Open it up, read the liner notes from cover to cover. So, I look inside. Sure enough, liner notes. I still don't know what this is, but let's see. Oh my. What? Well, there are notes here from siblings, and nieces and nephews and cousins and new friends and old friends. Huh. I look up, she's got a big smile on her face. Of course, she knows what's coming next. I'm not going to look up again until I read every word. So the first note is from Andrea. In honor, my gift is my song, and this one's for you. It's from Elton John. In honor of this birthday, I asked family and friends to choose a song that reminded them of you. And to write a liner note to accompany it. How well does she know me? What a joy it has been to put together all aspects of the John I have known throughout the years, playing out in familiar tunes and in the rich landscape of time shared. So much love for you. Happy birthday, my dearest John. How wonderful life is while you're in the world. Oh my gosh, look, my nieces and nephews, most of them picked Puff the Magic Dragon. Well, I used to do sing-alongs with them when they were kids. And my nephew, Michael, says that he was 25 years old before someone broke the news to him that his Uncle John did not write Puff the Magic Dragon. Oh, and here's my nephew, Matthew, Tom's son. He picked the song that I wrote for his dad. And he said he had it played at his wedding, and he and his mom danced to it at the reception, and my sisters came on the dance floor, and he said, it just brought Dad into the room. Oh, my daughter, Adrian. Oh, she picked Angel by Sarah McLachlan. There's a long history with that song. So we we stayed in touch through the years, all these visits over the miles, and then Adrienne got to come live with me and Andrea when she was in high school here in Arizona. And it was kind of tough going at first. Little shoes on was now wearing knee-high black leather boots. But we had this song that we both liked, and we would sing it together. And that was Angel, and that was the little thread that held us together until she blossomed. By the way, it's now Professor Shoes On. Oh, and one from my sister-in-law, Kim. Well, I got to cut this one short just to say, there was a time in our family where we had a big medical scare, and I thought that was just the ideal opportunity to write a silly, funny song about intensive care. We all needed a laugh, and that made us laugh. And Kim says, what a fabulous gift at a difficult time. So, I've given fabulous gifts. Now I've been given a fabulous gift. Well, how can I have a pity party now? This outpouring of love and affection. My story reflected back to me by the people I love. And it's all here. The sad times, the good times. And isn't it interesting, the connective tissue in these liner notes of my life, letting the words come out, the songs that people remember that we could relate to. Okay, I guess I better cowboy up. I'm 60. The road has not always been smooth. A few dashed dreams along the way. Crosby, Stills, Nash, Young, and Genette never happened. But I've touched people with music. It says so. Right here. My gift is my song. Music, it's a way to get through the hard times and celebrate the good ones. I'm so glad Andrea reminded me because I was feeling sorry for myself, but now I'm feeling the old spark. Like I still have stories to tell. The fullness of the past and whatever's going to happen in the future. I was feeling a little broken. Like pottery that cracks but doesn't completely break. And but Andrew says, life is wonderful while I'm in the world. Still. Cracks and all. That's not so tragic. Even in my darkest hour, the earth is still in motion. Feels like I'm standing still, but I am turning, 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 turning toward the light. I am playing the hands of the potter. Sometimes I'm feeling cracked and broken. That's when I hear the voice of the teacher. The cracks are where the light gets in. The cracks are where the light gets in. The endure the pain, the highs and the lows, it's all transitory. I can't escape my shadow. It is part of my story. Like a stone in a slingshot, sometimes I get pulled back. But that's what moves me forward. Like a stone in a slingshot. When I'm feeling cracked and broken, I hear the voice of the teacher. The cracks are where the light gets in. The cracks are where the light gets in. The cracks are where the light gets in. Let it in. Let it in. Let it in, let it in, let it in, let it in, let it in. Come on in. Come on in.
Very much.